started hearing these weird noises.
Is this about your...
Hello, everyone. It's November 16th, and it's a Tokel Talk Tuesday. I'm Giuliano. Thank you for being here and joining us for this Tokel Talk. We have a special guest today, Draith, will be telling us about some updates, what's going on with Nightlife Crypto, and more. We also have Nutella Lika here and Dream Tim from Tokel platform. If you're joining live in the audience, thanks for being here. We hope this discussion is going to be fruitful for you. And if you're joining live in another format or in pre-recorded version, well, not pre-recorded, I guess it would be just the recorded version. Anyway, thanks for being here. And we're going to move into this Tokel Talk. Hello, Draith. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Wonderful. And Nutella Lika, hi, how are you today?
Yeah, morning. Doing well, thanks. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Yeah, and Dream Tim, hello.
Hi there, how's it going?
Wonderful. And thanks as always to the background work from all of the Tokel team. And I'm going to just push it over here to Nutella Lika. We're going to get some updates about Tokel platform, what's been going on, and hear any interesting things since the previous Tokel Talk. Nutella Lika, how are you doing here? You're excited to give us some of these updates, so go for it.
Yeah, no worries. Just quick updates in case people have been missing the announcements in the Discord and on the various channels. But if you missed it, we've got the token wallet release out now, which is awesome. So you'll be able to view, send, receive any tokens that are on the Tokel blockchain within our really super lightweight decentralized application. So if you haven't got that already, definitely recommend updating to the latest version to try that one out. Anybody that participated in the Tokel Retreat campaign would be able to see their NFTs in that wallet. We're going to continue to put out some releases over the next couple of weeks that'll have bug fixes. So we're using the opportunity for the community to test the wallet to find these bugs that we haven't found ourselves, and then updating those in incremental releases as we go. So the community should expect to see a couple of releases occur over every 2 to 3 weeks, so that we can continue to do that. From there, the developers are hard at work on a token creation tool, so super exciting stuff. I know we talked about it last time, but that's definitely in the works at the moment, and our new developer Lenny's actually put together a bit of a video, so I'll post that if you haven't seen it, I'll post it in the Tokel event discussion channel, and you can have a look at that. But basically, it's just a design flow of how you'd go about creating a token through the application. So it'll be the first time that anyone will be able to do that. We're hoping to have that out within the next little while here. Not going to put a date on it, but that's definitely being developed on as we speak. So super exciting.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Excellent. Thanks, Nutella Lika. And Dream Tim, do you have anything you'd like to share with us before we get on to chat with Draith?
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of marketing, I had a few sort of updates. We had a new article on dPoW. We also had a new Medium account created for us in Turkish, and a lot of the articles translated. We have been listed on a bunch of new info sites, and if you want to find the links, they're in important links channel in Discord. We had quite a few articles also translated into Chinese, and I want to give a shout out to the Tokelists, because these are people who are actively supporting the Tokel platform project, and they have been instrumental in helping us to build our voice in social media. So this has been a pretty cool little project that we have started, and people seem to be enthusiastic about and contributing. I also can say that we are closing in on a few exchange listings, but can't say more than that.
Oh, very nice. That's some nice updates to hear about and a little bit of a teaser. So thank you, Dream Tim. And now we're
and
going to
the
move over.
other,
Oh, yeah, go for it.
sorry,
Yeah, go for it.
sorry. One last thing is, I did, without consulting with the rest of my team, promise that one person today will get an NFT. And our lovely Kelsey, our designer, I think she's going to be working on something. So that's something that we're potentially sort of thinking of incorporating in future events.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to move over to Draith now. Draith, better known as the captain of the pirate ship, and Draith is also involved in other crypto-related activities. Draith, you've been doing nightlife crypto and nightlife drifting. Can you give us a bit of an overview? What is nightlife crypto? What are you working on in that respect?
Yeah, so I'm the primary advisor to Nightlife Crypto, which is a gaming platform that aims to become the Steam of crypto in terms of having third-party games, having our own games developed on the platform itself, having it where there's no user transactions, there's as many revenue streams as possible for users as well, depending on what game or where you are in the platform itself. There's a lot of things that we aim to do to basically, not to use a pun, but change the game in crypto gaming, because there's a lot of things that have been lacking in terms of quality and graphics and things like that. So the stuff that we're developing game wise is on par with games you would find outside of crypto. So, for example, Nightlife Drifting, which is our very first, actually technically our second, but our first game that we're fully developing. Basically, it involves staking, it involves NFTs. The graphics and gameplay are on par with that of, say, Need for Speed. Like, well, not the old school ones, but actually more recent. And yeah, there's just a ton of features that we're building into there, including a metaverse, with land and things like that, to where users can fully interact with their cars, to, whether they, want to install heat or front bumper or rear bumper or any multitude of parts that we're offering, and tons of stuff like that. So
that sounds great. That sounds really great. I'm excited. I've got a big smile on my face just hearing about it. And I do get the sense that there's a lot of excitement around gaming and crypto and how that intersects. Is that what you're sensing as well?
Oh, absolutely. There's the one thing that I have noticed for sure is that people are thirsting over gaming, but they're also mainly thirsting over real gaming. Not like the typical card games you find in crypto, or just kind of like the stuff where it's, really cheesy graphics and the gameplay is just kind of gimmicky. They want real games in crypto, and that's what we're delivering.
All right, looking to level it up. Is that right? So, okay, do you have some latest news for Nightlife Crypto or Nightlife Drifting that you haven't mentioned that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so we've actually implemented a couple things recently, one of which is the EVP, which is the Economic Value Program. So what that means is whenever we do an NFT release for like an NFT series, like we did with Polygon, we have a car that we developed called the Matic GT with I think it was like 8 different parts. One of which is a gold skin that's ultra rare, and basically with the EVP, every week after after a series release, we burn 20% of the NFTs that are in circulation, and then we increase the price by 20%. And there's 2 reasons why we do this. One, for users that are just strictly investors, they automatically see a value increase in their NFTs, especially if they buy early. Now, for other users like that actually want to use the NFTs in game, because basically with the way the game works, if you own that NFT, that part or car is playable in game, right? So everything that is drivable, part related, or whatever is an NFT that will be equipable in game or available to that user in game if they own that NFT. So for users that want to use them, they can easily just pick up that NFT at the early stages when it's cheap, and then say they want to move on to another game. Now they have assets they can sell for more.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so there's that. There's the partnership we announced today with Doki Finance, which is a NFT platform that has gacha machines. For those unfamiliar with gacha machines, think of it like a loot box in a sense. But in Japan, they have like tons of these where, like, you say you put some cash into what looks like a candy
machine.
Yeah, a vending machine, candy machine type thing, and it spits out like a ball, and inside that ball is a toy, right?
Okay.
So, that's the type of machines they have there, but they're loaded with NFTs. So we partnered with them.
All right.
We have our own gacha machine with the Matic GT series of NFTs that we have in there with parts and
that's great.
a lot of fun stuff.
So that's related to the partnership you just announced. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations on that then, and looking forward to see how that progresses. But yeah, this sounds like really interesting stuff you're working on. It sounds fascinating and exciting, and it sounds just like what people would be looking for. It's what I would be looking for. If I wanted to play a racing game with NFTs, I'm looking for exactly the type of thing you just described. It sounds phenomenal. What are you noticing? Are you seeing any feedback from people, or what's it looking like so far in that respect?
Yeah, the main thing that we notice is that when we tell people that the graphics on the NFT itself, like for the car or parts, are in-game graphics, their jaw just drops, because it's like nothing they've ever seen before, especially in crypto, but specifically in crypto, I should say.
Yeah.
Because
so maybe okay, go on. Sorry, go on.
No, I got you. Because basically, the team behind this involves people from all over crypto. I mean, including Komodo. Like if you guys remember K64 back in the day, before the head guy exit scammed his team and all of their investors and so forth. There's the main developers of the games from K64 that joined the team, who formed their own gaming studio called Any% Studios. So we got them behind this. What's that?
Please say the name again.
Any% Studios.
Cool.
So we got them behind us, and they hired a bunch of people for graphics and for level design and all that other fun stuff. So they're hard at work doing that. We have the team from Aureus, which is better known for developing Polarity.exchange. So that we have them behind us working on the backbone of the tech and everything like that. And just people from all over, from various projects that I've met that are really good at what they do, involved in. Because everyone that reads our pitch decks or white paper or whatever automatically just fall in love with the project, because they realize that this is something that's been missing in crypto for a very, very long time.
Okay, very cool. That's all very intriguing, and it sounds like you're doing good work yet again. So I'm curious, this kind of touches on the question about how gaming is progressing in blockchain, and maybe you're not clear on the technical aspect of it. So forgive me if we need to just move on from this question, that's fine. But I'm wondering how it works a little bit here. You're talking about how all these parts are NFTs, and people are amazed that they're in the game with the graphics and all of that. So could you give us a simple overview of how does it work? Like, you've got the NFT on the chain, it's related to, let's say, this graphic or this part or whatever in data that it represents. How does that, are they communicating off chain, on chain? Like, is there a brief overview you could give in that type of a question? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So basically, all the NFTs since we partnered with Polygon, we made sure that all of the NFTs that we produce are on Polygon. Reason being is because Polygon transactions are ultra cheap and ultra fast. So this way, when a user purchases an NFT or they get awarded an NFT, say in game, it goes directly to their address, right? So in game, like before you really do anything, you basically link up. You basically sign a transaction to your account, and then that at that point it knows, okay, this address is where all the NFTs I should be looking for are located, and then it
Yeah.
scans that address for all the NFTs that are available, that are playable in Nightlife Drifting, and then
Okay.
imports them in game.
Okay, thanks. That's a good, clear explanation. I really appreciate that. And I'm just curious. Then, do you see more game design studios tokenizing gameplay as we go forward? Is there something going on where people are where there are more studios and they're looking to tokenize gameplay? Do you see that type of trajectory?
Here and there, there's a couple big name studios that are looking into it, like Sega, for example, I believe, but not many. And the one thing that actually worked to our benefit was the fact that Steam actually announced that they're not going to be moving or looking into crypto, which is great for us because that removes our biggest competitor, basically.
Right. Interesting. Well, that's pretty cool. And you do aim to be the Steam of crypto, so that's a great position to aim for, and definitely wishing you all the best in that direction. So having said that, then do you think that all game design studios should look to be using blockchain and tokenization and NFTs and that sort of thing going forward? And if so, why? If not, then why not? And maybe it's funny because I was talking about Blockbuster with somebody just a little bit while ago earlier. So I'm wondering, that kind of that kind of touches into that possibly. Yeah. So do you think they all should be looking to do this, or maybe not? Doesn't matter as much.
It all depends, really. Realistically, it depends on what what type of games that game studio produces, right? So, prime example, say 2K Sports, right? They produce a ton of different Madden games and blah blah blah. And one of the ideas that would be really cool, which is actually something that I contacted them on to see if they'd be interested, is like for specifically with their sport games where you have players that you can trade and things like that, basically tokenizing those players, and so that there's a specific rarity to them and everyone knows the rarity. Basically it makes it verifiable that things are rare when they say they're rare, and then you can easily just trade among users. And the funny thing is that one of the arguments that I've seen against things like that is, well, studios will lose money because then users will be able to trade and they won't really buy any more card packs or player packs or whatever. But the reality behind it is that actually they would probably be making more money from users that are buying these packs specifically to sell. Just like buying, say, Pokemon cards in a store, hoping to get a rare one. We saw, I think it was one of the Paul brothers spend a ridiculous amount of money trying to find one of the Pokemon cards or something like that. So, and on top of that, if you include royalty fees and things like that, now all of a sudden, when people are just trading NFTs and things like that, the platform that created everything is now making money from users trading. So there's a lot of different benefits to it that I think that a lot of game studios don't really see. But the beauty about being a gaming platform like we are is that we can, once we finish up with the what is it? It slipped my mind.
Nightlife Drifting?
No. The basically the dev kit to basically give to other gaming platforms and things like that, so that they can easily integrate their games into our platform.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But basically, that's one of the things that we're developing, so that if, say, one of these big studios does want to produce a game in crypto, they could easily just integrate into our chain and then have everything run off of that. So
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
another thing that we're doing, is that over time we're going to be having third-party game developers create games and launch them on our own platform.
Wow, this is great. I mean, that sounds like the Steam type of a scenario, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Plus, one thing we haven't released yet because we don't have because our first game that we developed was Prop Pirates, which was still an alpha, because we needed to focus on something that was play to earn to just garner attention. Because play to earn is really huge nowadays, obviously. So, so we shifted focus over to that, but we're planning on adding achievements and all that other fun stuff. Just because it's fun to have. Like when you're a person like me that's an achievement hunter, that tries to 100% games, things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You need things like that to complement the user experience.
Right on. Yeah. Well, that's good, and I can tell that you are right with it, and it sounds like you're in a really good position. And I'm very excited for you. I haven't heard too much about this, but I have seen that it is happening, and to get to talk to you about it is actually quite a pleasure. And so, thanks for coming on and sharing about all this stuff. I guess has this meant you having to do a lot of homework, or how's that worked for you?
Well, for me personally, I've been a gamer since I was a kid. So I grew up playing tons and tons of different games, like World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, and all the ones previous to that. Tons and tons of different games. So it comes to me naturally in terms of what the general person wants to see in a game and wants to be able to do in terms of like a gaming platform in general. But when it comes to game development, oh no, that was that was a whole different animal for me to learn in terms of how the whole process works and length of time in terms of development. And it was a whole new learning curve for me. That it's been a wild ride so far for me to learn.
Good. Well, very good. That sounds like opportunity for growth and advancement and all of that. So it's always nice to hear, and it's inspiring for me. And I hope that that's inspiring for the others who are joining us here and listening to us talk about nightlife crypto, nightlife drifting, and the work that you're doing, Draith. And of course, there's maybe even more to come than just gaming. Do you see tokenization expanding beyond gaming, or maybe I should say, like, how do you see it expanding, or in what other areas do you see tokenization taking off in the nearer term future?
Well, there's so many different use cases for just NFTs and tokenization and everything like that. It's crazy. Like the one thing that I've always said was basically crypto put a complete reset on life in general in terms of how people do business and things like that, because basically anything that you can do in like real life with software, or how businesses are run or how things are generally done, can be recreated in crypto in a better way. So like for example, like if or I shouldn't say if, but when nightlife crypto gets huge, one thing we would be interested in doing is holding uh, gaming conferences and things like that, to show off like all new games that are being developed from various studios and things like that. And the thing that can be utilized in terms of tokenization is tickets. You don't see you don't I mean you go to some random like Live Nation or something like that, and you buy a ticket and then you have to print it out and all this other crap. And then like if you really enjoyed the event and you want to keep the ticket, then you have to basically make sure that you don't spill anything on it, or if you have kids, they don't tear it up, because I know my kids would. So like having like a tokenized version of that ticket, or just tons and tons of different things in general. There's so many different use cases. It's just mind blowing.
Right. Well, that's definitely one. You just made me think of coupons. I don't know why, but basically, yeah, that ticket idea does seem something more near term. Um, yeah, and they do have that kind of memorabilia value as well as a digital representation of your ticket. There can be all kinds of cool graphics and other stuff that represent that ticket. Like, yeah, well, that's pretty cool. Any others come to your mind quickly?
It got me on the spot here.
No worries. Maybe Dream
Off
Team
the
or
top of my
Nutella
head,
have one.
I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, but I know there's tons and tons.
Like for example, Dream Team. When you're dreaming, do you ever dream about the tokenization future and what things are being tokenized in your dreams?
Well, gaming for sure. It has a big part to play in the initial stages of tokenization, same as the NFT industry. So we believe that a lot of game design studios have much to gain from using technologies such as Tokel to introduce in-game tokenization, whether that is in the form of NFTs or limited supply tokens, for specific items in game. So these two areas, they would be of great growth in the future because they can benefit from all the associated good things that blockchain technology brings, which is obviously the trustless nature of the technology, accountability, transparency, and so forth. But also, they will create the trust because right now you don't know if a game design studio has produced X amount of additional, what they call super rare items. Whereas if that's all done in a blockchain, then you can be assured that this is the case. So I think, yeah, we expect to see a lot more gaming companies and game design studios implementing tokenization in their platforms and using blockchain to do that.
Yeah, and
Beautiful.
one other thing is, BitSec mentioned, CS:GO skins in chat, which, just like with Nightlife Drifting, you can think of that in the same sense. But, for, say, game studios that just aren't on a platform that want to produce their own games, like, for example, mobile games, right? You can tokenize the currency within the game. This way users can purchase currency, and then, if they end up quitting the game, they can sell it to other users.
Right.
There's
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, Nutella, go for it.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the blockchain technology itself opens up a whole can of worms with the possibilities to incentivize not only game studios but the players themselves and give a different, economic model to video games and the video game industry. So the term that I like to call it is it gives power to the player. So decentralized blockchain gaming gives power to the player to change what happens in the game, to put their money where their mouth is, and as well as to be incentivized to play the game in different ways, shapes, or forms, and they're gaining that ability across the industry to have a more direct impact on what's occurring in the games that they like. And that player-based ownership economic model, I think, is the natural next evolution of the video game industry, because people want ownership over what they're doing. They don't want to just throw money, throw money at a skin that is only going to be available in one game. They don't want to throw money at just like purchasing the game and that's all they do. They play it for 10 hours and then they move on. Like, we've seen the gaming industry move towards subscription based, which I think is, just a different way of doing it. Some people like it, some people don't. What decentralized blockchain gaming gives you is that ability to do a bit of both. So you can purchase access tokens to play the game where, that token could be the video game itself, and whilst you hold that token, that is your access to play the game. Whereas, if you don't want to play the game anymore, you can then sell that token onwards. There's so many different use cases that are enabled by the blockchain and decentralized gaming in general. I think Drath brought up a good point earlier about gaming studios, not not wanting to take up the technology because it does take away that centralization around, their economic model, because they're the way that big studios do it at the moment. If they were to just incorporate, decentralized gaming, it wouldn't fit within their economic model, and they would see it as a loss to, their revenue. Whereas I think the ones that'll pick it up truly is ones like, Nightlife and indie game studios that see this as an opportunity to really build their community and uh, build the awareness around their video games and have the community contribute to, the creation of the game and where it goes, and have the community, help them along the way, get funding, for example. So there's so many different nuanced incentives there for smaller game studios to do it, that I think at the moment the big game studios are just seeing it as a bit of a hindrance. And why would they change what they're doing at the moment if it's working for them and they're making enough money? I think naturally, the players are going to put their money where their mouth is and move over to different studios. But I guess fundamentally, like, video gamers are going to want to play good video games. They can be incentivized all day, but if the game's shit, then are they really playing it for the love of playing video games, or are they playing it to make money? So, as we've seen in the play to earn model, people aren't necessarily playing the game; they're doing it as a job to make money, which is a different incentive structure. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because that gives people a shitload of opportunity, but it's just a different way to think about it. But with the smaller video game studios, like you said, you can use royalties as a different way to gain revenue. You just have to change the status quo on big gaming studios revenue generating business models in order to cater to the players a bit more. So that's kind of my 2 cents. We could go on all day about different features that tokenization creates.
Just a couple comments on that. For basically what we're trying to do is to find that balance between developing, amazing games and still having the ability for users to make money. Because, if you can find that balance and perfect it, it's just going to be a powerful thing to compete with. And the other thing too is, I remember you mentioned, not you, Nutella, but Giuliano mentioned Blockbuster, and combining that with what you just said, Nutella. Basically, I feel like the bigger gaming companies are, going to end up being the Blockbuster of gaming in this sense, because they're they're not going to be willing to move to something that is quite clearly the industry is going to be transitioning to, and they're going to be left behind. Whereas all the new companies that are spawning, or companies that are willing to make that transition, will over time see that it's going to be much more profitable for them once they figure out exactly what they're doing and how they're going to do it. So like, for example, with us, and the gaming studio behind us, yeah, we are creating games, things like that, but we basically had meetings upon meetings on how we're going to have some sort of revenue stream to continue development and things like that. And there's a multitude of ways that we came up with. So for an ordinary gaming studio that wants to get into crypto and basically give, like you said, power to the players, there's so many ways that they can just continue with their current revenue generation, but also have additional ways to generate revenue to further development, further their company. So to me, it's a no-brainer to move to crypto.
Yeah, I agree. And you don't have to, like, I don't think big gaming studios, or even indie gaming studios for that matter, have to take on every single use case, because there's too many, and there's too many to understand how the economics are going to work in their video game. What they have to do is offer a good video game, and then have a look at the how they could use tokens within their video game, whether it's their in-game currency, whether it's for their item system, whether it's for access to the video game, whether it's to access to parts of the video game, whether it's different random ownership models of, like, parts of the video game you can actually own it. There's so many different uses for tokens that they can they can look at the video game, what works for them, and then just pick one, and then find a good platform to do that on. They don't have to do all of them, because it becomes this overwhelming challenge to try and take on all of these different use cases for tokens. Whereas I think in these early stages, it makes sense for gaming studios to try and take one of those features and actually put it into play, and then see how it works, and then potentially try again. But I guess that becomes difficult when you're trying to generate revenue, so you got to try and get as many of these things in as possible. But I think from a player perspective, it's going to become too complex if you're trying to take all of those different features. Whereas if there's something simple that makes sense and you can interact with the game or own part of the game or anything like that, then I think that is a good step forward with giving power to the player.
Right. Yes. Very good points all around. And there's a few of them to touch on. I think the idea of the business model, and adaptability, just like in any life system. I mean, it's about adapting to the changing conditions for survival in that way. And so maybe then to touch on that second point that you just made down the Telelica would be if they were to treat it a bit like R&D, a little research and development type of expenditure. That way, then that might be a way for the ones that do shift over. Maybe that's how it'll work for them. But Draith, you and others definitely have the first mover advantage on this sense, because you're already knee deep, if not ears deep into this, and already it sounds like you're pretty full steam ahead, if not really gathering that momentum. And yeah,
Can
go
I
for
ask
it.
Draith the question?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. When you were looking for a platform to launch your nightlife blockchain on, what sort of features were you looking for? Oh, you there?
And maybe you're muted, Draith, or something is wrong with. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I think he's
Okay,
might have
he'll
just
be
played
back.
out.
Yeah.
I guess I can talk about he talked about tickets, and you mentioned coupons. I really like that idea, and I think I've had this thought bubble, bubbling away for quite a while now, but decentralized ticketing I think is a really cool use case for tokens. And if in the future we might look to create a part of our dApp that is a decentralized ticketing mechanism potentially. I mean, if there's other projects out there that are interested in that sort of thing and monetizing that, then it's definitely doable using the Tokel blockchain, just as a shameless plug. And I like the idea that people, can create their own events and then create their own amount of tickets and then sell them all in a decentralized fashion on chain using, the Tokel blockchain. I really like that idea, and I think that then gives the power to the people, not necessarily the player in this case, but it gives power to the people. So it's the people that are actually creating the event can go and organize their own ticketing venue. And then coupons is another really good one as well. I like the idea of coupons and access tokens as well. So having, one of the earlier examples I might have talked about already, but if you had an online courseware, for example, and you had just a single course, and to access that course, you had to have one of 10 tokens. So you only make 10 tokens, but these are 10 access tokens. You might make those tokens in such a way on Tokel where you have a 20% royalty on the sale of those tokens, such that you sell them for really cheap on a face value, but you're expecting that as soon as somebody finishes the courseware, they then go and sell that token. So they're getting back their initial investment, but then they're selling that to somebody else that comes along and uses that online courseware, if that makes sense. So
Oh yeah.
you don't have to sell that course as a really expensive course. You can actually sell it for quite cheap. But what you're intending to do is then get people through. So you have to continue updating the courseware, making it good, making it engaging, such that people want to purchase one of these 10 tokens and then sell them at the back end. So they're walking away with little to no cost overhead in that example.
Nice.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
we
you
can
there,
hear
mate.
you. Yeah,
Okay.
hi, Dre.
Sorry. So my question was, what features did you look for when you were starting your project, and assumably your blockchain or your tokens there?
Well, so basically, after months of research and thinking on it, there was no one singular blockchain that did everything we wanted, right? So the closest we can find to it was Turtle Network, which basically allows you to sponsor assets and things like that. So there's like no gas required like in that native token. So you don't need to hold two tokens to transfer something. So basically, we use them, and then on top of that, we're integrated with several different chains, so that this way we can do everything we really need to do. And give me 1 minute. I gotta do something real quick.
Yeah, no worries. So, um, I guess my thoughts on where blockchain gaming are going to go is how the games interact with NFTs. And we've kind of already touched on a couple of the features or use cases where a game can interact with NFTs. But the big one that people are seeing at the moment is just like ownership over the item or something that occurs in the game, whether it's a skin or anything like that. And I really like that use case. But I think when people are able to actually buy and sell and trade and interact with those NFTs in the game, I think that's a the next step of what we're going to start to see. So obviously people are able to buy a character in the game and then or a monster or something like that, and go and battle with it. I think that is a good form of interaction. But how video games are actually going to interact with blockchain technology will be an interesting step, and I think Tokel provides a simple way of overcoming the interaction piece, because I know it's a bit of a roadblock for a lot of game studios when they think of blockchain technology. They think of these, you know, uh, extremely big, size-wise things that they have to download, that the user has to run in the background, that takes a long time to boot up, and running a full node is quite a heavy workload on the computer. So it's not really, designed to then also run a video game on top of that to interact with it. Whereas Tokel has NSPV technology that we're using that application that's super quick, super light, and we can create API that can interact with video games. So the video game itself can interact with the blockchain in a super light fashion and not have to download the entire blockchain. But what's cool about it is it's actually like completely decentralized. So unlike normal SPV uh, servers that you see and interact and a lot of people interact with, we don't run any other than the Explorer that people can see on the website. We don't run any servers that people have to interact with. It's all done. NSPV uses full nodes on the network, so any full node on the network can broadcast and accept requests from NSPV nodes. So you are just
Oh
purely
wow.
talking peer to peer. So it's not. People ask us like, oh, what happens if your servers go down? And it's like, well, we don't have any servers. The network is the network, and people can
Yeah.
interact peer to peer using this super light technology.
Yeah.
So I think that is truly decentralized blockchain gaming. It doesn't rely on us
Indeed.
at all. So
Wow. Well, we're going to have to keep talking about that some more in future, definitely, because I think that's a really key piece going forward as well. But yeah, that's anyway. Draith, I think you're back.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention too is that basically creating a seamless experience for the user itself is the most important thing you can do in blockchain gaming. Because one of the things that we're trying to do basically is make it so that you don't even realize that you're using blockchain, right? So a user could hop in a game that is created by us and essentially play that game, get different assets, things like that, in terms of car parts, whatever, and then from that point they have the option to get into blockchain by selling those assets or doing whatever they want to do via the in-game interface once we finish developing that. So there's a lot of different things that need to be done with crypto gaming to basically attract the primary user base, which is outside of crypto. Just that goes hand in hand with adoption.
Interesting. Yes, I see what you're saying, and that's a really good point as well, because right now we're not in one world or the other, and so there is this transition that's occurring, and you're basically facilitating that in some sense, isn't it? Is that what you're pointing to, Trey?
Yeah, exactly. And another thing too is that in terms of tokenization, one of the things that we'll be doing once we say we have a game that we sell rather than having it free to play. Game licensing is a huge deal. So if you're trying to sell copies of a game, you can tokenize the game keys, so that literally you own the game key, and there's no, like, the development studio doesn't have to worry about people copying that game just for the fact that there's a process in place to where it checks for that game key on your address,
Oh,
so you
okay.
can't really spoof it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I guess that goes back to that access token piece. I don't know if you were here for that one, Drath, but yeah, giving
That's
access
that's
through
what
the token.
made me remember that. So yeah,
Yeah,
the access
yeah,
token
yeah.
thing.
No, I love that idea. I think that's awesome because again, you can purchase the game and play it and then go on and sell it because it is an asset, like a token is something you can move on to somebody else, whether you give it to someone for a short period of time so that they can play the game or however you want to do it. There's so many different avenues of
Okay.
usage there.
Yeah,
So
because
maybe
you used to
books
be able
on
to do
token,
that.
things like that. Go
So
on.
you used to be able to do that with physical copies of games.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now
exactly.
with the way everything is set up, the industry is trying to make so much money off of people that they don't allow you to transfer games at all.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Interesting.
sorry, there's a good question just on a tangent here. There's a good question in the chat that basically says what are the benefits to tokenizing event tickets if those benefits already exist in the current industry, and what are the primary hurdles for adoption? I like this
Yeah, great
idea
question,
here,
Alan D.
but to me there are benefits using centralized systems. There's always going to be benefits using centralized systems, and you I think it would be naive to say that hey, like one is better than the other. I think if you look at the benefits of either, then some people might gravitate towards the centralized system versus some people might gravitate towards the decentralized system. And I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think there's a mixture of both. Lutz has put in a couple of good benefits of the decentralized system in terms of like identity protection. Uh, the decentralized aspect of it means that you don't have to have some middleman taking profits out of your event. You can host them yourself. I think the important part is that if you're going to create a decentralized system, and like Drath's just talked about with gaming, you'd have to create a seamless user experience so they don't even know that they're using this blockchain technology, but they have the power that the blockchain technology gives them. Um, so I guess it comes back to, the event coordinator or the event creator is the one that has the power to own, the ticketing sales, so they can own 100% of the revenue that the tickets generate. They can do that seamlessly by themselves in a decentralized fashion. There's not this central entity that has to coordinate all of the sales, make sure people verify anything like that. If that can all occur on the blockchain and all occur in the decentralized fashion, I think that would provide significant benefit to a lot of people that are interested in that sort of thing. Um, Hopefully that
Mhm.
answers the question. I think it didn't deep dive too much into it, but
Well, yeah, but I, I think that's pretty good. There's also the questions of privacy. Um, I'm wondering, like, decentralization helps with that, with just basically with privacy. And that makes me wonder, as Lutz asks some questions. There is because Tokel is built as Komodo Smart Chain. Does it in any way have access to the ZK Snarks part of the technology, or is that not available?
no, that's not available on the Tokel chain. If people want a currency that's definitely private, then we would point them towards Pirate Chain for sure. And we're trying to bridge that link or create a link between the two in an easy way, because I think at the moment getting Tokel and R trading is quite difficult. So we're trying to bridge that link. But in terms of, I mean, Lutz has brought this up in previously, but private NFTs and how that's going to work in the future is really interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how the technology increases such that becomes possible. So,
Right. Well, you know what? We are having such a great discussion, but we are nearing the end. I do want to point out that you had mentioned about how games are currently, and then just a little bit of what you see going forward with the interactivity of the on-chain gaming. You know what I'm talking about, right, Nutella?
yeah. So
So
how
yeah,
the games actually interact with the blockchain and that link.
yes, and how that provides for a different in-game experience and what you're doing and all of that, right? Is that where you were going with that?
Yeah. I guess I'd
Great.
another question for Drafe is like how do your video games actually interact? Is it purely just like an item based? If you hold it in your wallet, you can then use that item in the game.
So far, yeah. For the current game that we're developing, yes.
Yeah. And how do you see that developing in the future?
Um, in terms of how
Like how
and,
the game interacts with blockchain. Is there any other, use cases or features that
oh,
you would
so
consider bringing on?
there's a company that I forget the name of that's actually developing AI NFTs, which is really, really interesting stuff because basically what they're doing is allowing the NFT to basically run on its own. So if you have, say, for example, a character that you want to train in athletics, right? So basically, he'll train on his own in athletics, and no matter what game you go to that integrates that type of NFT, whether it's like a soccer game or whatever, that NFT will be really fast or whatever, and then it can actually learn skills while it's playing a game. It's it's mind blowing stuff. I don't know what
I can't even
in
wrap
terms
my head
of
around that.
yeah, I don't know where this technology is in terms of development, but just the idea behind it is just crazy. So there's a lot of cool stuff on the horizon in terms of how things are integrated in games and how they're used. So it's just exciting to see all that kind of
Yeah,
development. You know, try to pull that in when we can.
yeah, yeah. I'm glad you brought this one up too. You've brought a really strong guest appearance here today on Tokel Talk, Draith, and even just this last little bit of information you provided, like that's just wild. That's a good look into the future. And so, thank you so much for coming on and providing this time with us. Yeah,
Yeah, anytime, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
cool. Well, and of course, best of luck and good luck going forward with Nightlife Crypto and drifting and all of the other. Well, it feels like you're just getting started. So keep it up, and we look forward to having you around again.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. I can't wait to see where Tokel is in the next several months because I know you guys are going to be doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah, thanks. Speaking of which, then Nutella and Dream Team, we're going to close out the session. So, on that note, is there anything that we should be looking forward to in the intervening time before the next couple of weeks?
I'd just say for this particular meeting, everybody who's here, I have taken their usernames down and they will qualify for a very special NFT, which we're going to just produce for this very meeting. So,
Love it.
that's
Love
something
it.
that we're looking to do in the future too. So, yeah, stay in tune for more of these surprise drops.
Hey Tim, if you wanna pick a random user, I'll give him a thematic GT.
Nice. Good
Oh,
job.
Oh, that's a
shit.
very cool offer. Thank you.
That's awesome.
There you go. We're dropping 2 NFTs today.
How good. From my point of view, I think thanks Draith for coming on. It's awesome to hear how other people are doing it in the industry, and hear from other community members and the projects that they're involved with. I really like to listen and hear about how other people are approaching different how they're approaching it differently. That's what I'm trying to say there. And I think for the Tokel community, it's not necessarily these discussions aren't about pushing Tokel specifically. It's just about understanding how how tokens and NFTs are being used in the wider cryptocurrency space. And if we can learn from how other people are doing it, then that'll just strengthen the way that we can do it ourselves and offer different features and or collaborate and interoperate with other projects such that both the projects benefit. Because I think as I've mentioned previously, like I don't see one chain to rule them all. I see a collaborative nature of different blockchains interacting with each other or providing different use cases for the user in a seamless fashion. And that's that's what I'd like to see in the future. And I think a big part of that is getting people on from other projects and learning about how they do it. So I appreciate you coming on, Draith. Yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's great talking to you guys.
And thanks
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yeah, and it's been a pleasure having everyone else here. And from my perspective, I just am grateful for all the people who are building all of this stuff, because that's way beyond my skill set. And so thank you to all of you and any of you who participate in creating this future that we're all moving towards. And without naming any names, thanks to everybody in the audience today. Of course, you've been a wonderful audience, and I hope to be around with all of you again the next time. For Draith and Nutella and Dream Tim and Cax and everyone else here, I'm Giuliano, and goodbye until the next time.
Thanks, Giuliano.
Thank you.